right. Welcome back, guys. If you are listening, again, thank you. If you dig it, like and subscribe. Doing my best to get this show up and running and trying to reach as many people as possible. So, January 1st, 2023. Happy New Year to everybody. I personally I don't know. New Year's isn't really my thing. I do love the holidays, but it's kind of the last part of the holidays, so it kind of bums me out. But at the same time, I don't know. It's just another day for me. But I do not like New Year's because for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to still be writing 2022 on a bunch of paperwork, and that's going to make me upset. So anyway, new year, new day, new you. Also not really my thing. I encourage everyone to be a new person or a new whatever if they want to, but I also believe that can happen any day of the year, not necessarily today, but if that's what you want to do, you do you. Still putting some things together. I know I probably say that every time I come on here. I guess if I had more time, that would be the main reason I would be able to really get things moving. But for now, you still get the iPhone version of me, which take it or leave it. Soon, I promise, soon. So I wanted to talk about if you can hear that, those are my dogs. I did not let them come in the room this time because they're too noisy. And I feel bad asking them, can you just not breathe? Like, that sounds mean, but they're just loud. Anyway, a few weeks ago, probably more like a month ago now, in California, specifically Sacramento, there was a detective from the Sacramento Police Department who struck and killed two people who were attempting to fix a disabled vehicle on Interstate 5. What was pretty sad about the whole thing was the two guys were brothers, and one of which came to help when he heard that his brother was stranded on the freeway. And when this happened, the first day and probably a week or two afterward, it was pretty consistent news coverage of the incident and people asking to know the identity of the officer who was involved. It was a really sad scenario, and I feel bad for everybody that had to go through that. And then the local media broke the identity of the officer and gave all that information out, and also cited that he was in another car accident in 2021. And it was kind of a big to-do. And my question, why? Why was that newsworthy? When was the last time you heard about a dentist hitting a pedestrian on the freeway, or a school teacher, or a plumber? And if any of those scenarios made the news, it would probably be something as simple as, a fatal vehicle versus pedestrian crash on Highway 99 blocking the number 1 lane. You wouldn't hear, plumber driving to work hits and kills 2 pedestrians on the freeway. We would literally say to ourselves, why does it matter if he's a plumber? So it begs the question, why does it matter if he's a cop? Well, when the majority of society has a bone to pick with you already, they will make sure that that bone is as big as it can be when you make a mistake. And I don't know of any beef that society currently has with plumbers. I'm not aware of any. There aren't protests about plumbing brutality or extortion. There aren't activist groups following them into bathrooms or under houses, recording them with their cell phones when they're fixing a leak. There aren't people making comments on the news about the equipment they use, or how plumbers need better training, or they need to consider other options in a pipe wrench before utilizing a snake. And you kind of see where I'm going with this. Well, when we ask ourselves, what's the difference? Well, I don't like quoting from movies that I don't really care for. Not that I dislike Spider-Man, but I remember the quote. Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. And I don't know if Uncle Ben was the first person to say that, but that was a very powerful thing to say, and he was right. And along with, that power and responsibility comes societal perception. And societal perception is also very relative to the current disposition more times than not, though that disposition is going to be negative in the realm of law enforcement. And in all of my years doing this job and all of my reading from the past, I really can't think of a time or reference a time when being a cop was linear to being a plumber. I suppose with the exception that we both deal with everyone's shit, literally and figuratively, for both of us. But that begs the question, why? Why have we managed to be some of the most hated people in the nation despite doing so many great things for society? And the answer, I think, to that is fairly simple, and that's the human mind remembers the bad more than it remembers the good. That's just how we operate. We can easily associate a negative context more quickly than a positive one. And for law enforcement, we live in that same negative context every day, and eventually we choose to wear it on our sleeve, subconsciously or consciously. And looking at some of the data that was collected over the years, I discovered that the average American has a 1% chance of being pulled over in a calendar year, and annually on a calendar year, 32 million Americans are detained on a traffic stop. And that number does sound like a lot, but it roughly shakes out to 2 traffic stops in a lifetime for the average American. And that's law enforcement contact overall, which the most consistent one is traffic stops. Now, considering that may be the only contact the average person will ever have with law enforcement, the chances of that person not necessarily happy with that result, that they might have a bone to pick. Even if they were given a warning, most people will still have some bad blood because, essentially they were caught doing something illegal and the cop was allegedly a jerk. And, most traffic stops that generate a complaint are dismissed entirely because there were no grounds to support their complaint to begin with. And with body-worn cameras everywhere and on everyone these days, it's pretty easy to figure out what really happened. And just because the cop didn't wear a top hat and sashay back to your window holding a cane while singing doesn't mean that he or she were jerks. It just means that their performance wasn't to your liking. And what the person in the driver's seat doesn't understand is that, that one particular contact, especially if the cop was a jerk, it's not relevant to the majority of cops nationwide. And sadly, if you have that, 1 or 2 experiences in your lifetime, you're probably going to think all cops are jerks. And traffic in general is kind of one of those, it's one of those things where everyone gets mad because essentially you made a mistake or you screwed up or you intentionally did something wrong and you got a ticket. I've gotten tickets before. It's no fun and it sucked, but it is what it is. I live and I learn, and maybe I won't do it again next time. And I don't really, if we look at, I suppose, that number, I don't really think that it's not an accurate assessment. I mean, the numbers are accurate. Don't get me wrong. The data is accurate, but that's where we have the problem. That's where we have the disconnect. And I've heard a lot of people speak, poorly about traffic laws and certain things. And I was actually listening to a podcast. I won't name names because it doesn't matter, but the host was talking about how stupid speed limits were and how red lights should not be punishable offenses. Traffic laws are dumb. Vehicle code sections are dumb. And I wonder how he would feel if his wife and kids were driving home from school and were suddenly struck and killed because someone ran a red light going through an intersection at 90 miles per hour. And I kind of, thought about what he would say in that scenario, and probably think about, but in reality, he would absolutely demand accountability and the pursuit of justice for his family. That's not even a question. He would become an advocate for traffic laws and speed limits and devote his life to that mission. And the public never truly allows the full picture in the realm of possibility until until that specific realm of possibility shows up and introduces themselves in the worst ways possible. And as cops, we see the outcome of possibility every day. And in turn, we become a little more jaded and a little more aware than the average person. We become sort of hyper paranoid or even numb to the concept of a bad day. And dealing with that negativity over and over and over again, it eventually can make you react or not react to certain scenarios where the average person, it's the worst day of their life. And I think as long as we keep that in the back of our heads, it would allow us to become better cops. And, after you've worked this job for a while, you become a really good problem solver, almost to the point to where your expectations are higher. And this can be said for any profession that involves problem solving, especially with the general public. I guess public service in a nutshell would be absolutely relatable to that concept. And it's just stuff that we should keep, in our back pockets for times where we may need them. And so I do have plans for the future, and I feel like I've kind of done enough in terms of these, shorter ones in terms of podcasts and video blog, whatever you want to call this, that I'm doing with my phone. And I'm ready to definitely take the next step and do some longer podcasts with, just some more depth and detail. I've been keeping these fairly short just to get used to it, but I think I'm ready to move forward and do all that. Also, along with my own spiels, I'll be doing a 10-part series. I'm going to be interviewing 10 different people in law enforcement. Some of them are friends of mine. Some of them are people that were recommended that I interview. So that'll be really cool. I'm looking forward to that. Those will be obviously a lot longer. And so like and subscribe. You guys can follow me on Instagram at the Zen Cop, TheZencop. Also on YouTube. And if you dig it, let me know if there's things that you'd like to hear me talk about, or I don't know, ideas. I'm open. You guys can leave them in the comment section. Other than that, guys, it's the first day of the new year, and I know that everyone is listening. You guys have good plans, and if you don't, find some. All right, guys, appreciate it as usual. Talk to you later.